one of the biggest successes is that, like I say, I've grown this set of patients where I had no idea it was going to happen, where I just thought, right, we'll give it a go and let's keep pushing and let's keep trying to get more people. And now I'm seeing all these people on Instagram with their new smiles. And
Jonny, thank you so much for doing this with me. How are you doing today?
yeah, very good, man. Very good. Looking forward to doing this little video with you.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. And so for those that don't know you, Jonny, is it all right if you could just introduce yourself, what you do and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm Jonny Stevens, and I mainly focus on Invisalign, whitening, composite bonding, composite veneers, and just general smile makeovers. But that tends to be the day-to-day work, work in a private practice, and get most of my patients through social media.
Fantastic. And Jonny, so if we just take you back a little bit, is dentistry the thing that you always wanted to do when you were younger?
It was one of those where, I was looking down two paths: doctor, dentist, probably quite a common thing that a lot of people look down. And yeah, just saw a bit of the side of dentistry. Always thought it was a good profession, and then just went down that path, and here we are.
Good, good. And how young were you when you decided that you wanted to do dentistry?
Oh, it probably wasn't until 16 when I'd been to one of the practices, had a little look at my local dentist,
Mm.
saw it was a nice profession, saw that, you got that patient interaction. But yeah, no, it wasn't any earlier than that.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant. And if you were not a dentist, is there something else that you think you would have done if you didn't go for dentistry?
Yeah, it's a tough one, really. I always say that, like, what would I have done? I tell you what, I wouldn't have done. My chemistry tutor was always like, you should have done you could do chemistry if you don't get into dentistry. You should put it down as your fifth choice, and I just didn't even put it down as my choice because I didn't want to do chemistry so bad. But
Yeah,
yeah, maybe something more sporty, or maybe I'm not sure. It's hard to say, isn't it? But dentistry's the one for
yeah,
me for sure.
yeah, yeah, brilliant. And so being a dentist, how long have you been qualified now?
Qualified in 2015.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So obviously you've been
Yeah.
practicing a little while now. Is it what you expected?
Yeah, I think there's times where there's a lot of stuff you're not taught in dental school. I think that's quite a common thing. They don't teach you. It can be rewarding, but it also can be pretty tough at the same time.
Mm.
And I think that's what every dentist probably finds. But a lot of the times it's very, very rewarding. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I think there's a lot that you learn when you finish
Mm.
university, and a lot of different routes, and it depends what route you want to take yourself with this, because I think there's so many routes in dentistry that you could take.
Mm, Yeah, and obviously you talked about obviously there's some challenges within dentistry. Are you right sharing like maybe let's say what's been one of your darkest days in dentistry?
I mean, bit of a perfectionist, so a dark day might be, you know, something that just hasn't quite gone as smooth as I want it to be, and then if another patient comes in with a bonding chip, and then you're just thinking, oh, what am I doing wrong here? Or another patient's hassling you for some stuff that you should have done a week ago.
Mm,
So there's lots of things which patients can be demanding, can't they? And I think sometimes they feel like they're the only person, but that is how you've got to try and treat them as best as you can. But
mm,
maybe not putting it all on you, getting your team to get involved and help you out. Otherwise, it just becomes too much, doesn't
mm,
it?
mm. Okay. Would you say you're quite driven?
Yeah, I would say for me, I am constantly always trying to improve the process that I do. And initially got interested in cosmetic side of things about 4 years ago. And since then, I have just been pushing down that route solely. But before that, I was very much in a mixed NHS private practice. And at that point, I was just concentrating on trying to be the best dentist I could, trying to be the best communicator, and therefore trying to offer the best options.
Yeah.
So that was always something that I was always continually developing. And then since I developed that side of things, now I'm pushing it down different business avenues, trying to make processes better, systems better, patient journeys more slick. So yeah, that's where I'm at the minute, trying to make sure everything is airtight as it can physically be.
Yeah, brilliant. And you talked about 4 years ago choosing to go down the cosmetic route. Is there what made you choose to go down that cosmetic route?
Just always enjoyed the artistic side of things, especially composite bonding, composite veneers just looked interesting. And also
Mm,
cosmetics has a nice sort of look to it. You don't know
mm,
all the details again. It's like when you come out of uni, you don't know what's going to be coming with this process, but I just gone head on into it and just kept trying to improve. And I think that's what you just got to keep doing, haven't you? Just keep continually improving, and
mm.
it'll hopefully come good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I can imagine that because you're quite driven and passionate about what you do, you've probably done some unconventional things that most dentists don't normally do, whether it's some different training or whatever. Is there some things that you can share that you've done that are not necessarily the conventional route, but you've thought if I do this, I could get a bit of the edge and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think that's the idea, isn't it? How can you get, how can you jet propel yourself 5 years?
Mm,
You know, you don't want to necessarily be standing still all the time. And I think, yeah, you can obviously do the standard thing, which is your courses, but then you can try and go and watch people, or you can practice. You can always come in on a Saturday and practice models.
mm.
Those sorts of things. That's the sort of clinical side of things. But then you've
Yeah,
got to think bigger picture, haven't you? You've
yeah,
got to think, oh, right, if I get the clinical side, good. How can I improve? How can I actually get the patients in?
yeah.
Um, and that's where it comes into the social media and the infrastructure that you've got around you. I
Mm,
think
mm.
that is, you can be the best dentist in the world, but if you haven't got the patients or you haven't got the team
Mm,
who know exactly the whole flow and
mm.
how to make it a nice patient journey, then you're not going to get new patient referrals, or you're not going to
Yeah.
get more patients.
Yeah, and can you share a bit about, like, let's say where you're at the moment in terms of patients that are coming in and that sort of thing? You don't have to give us exact numbers, but just a bit of, where you've got to, where you started and where you're at, where you're at now.
Yeah, so coming into 2020, just before the pandemic,
Mm,
probably doing one smile makeover a month, a couple of smile makeovers coming in, just through my general list of patients that were there. And I was literally fighting and scrapping to get patients on board, get them
mm,
to, trust in me. And what happened was I really focused on a couple of patients. I got some really good content on
mm,
those specific patients that I knew was definitely a smile that other people would want.
mm,
And I literally just annihilated using that smile makeover about
mm,
10 different times in 10 different ways.
mm,
Um, and then that allowed me to get more patients in, a
mm,
couple of lucky friend referrals, maybe. And then
mm,
since then, 2.5 years later,
mm,
tend to get probably 10 new inquiries a day.
mm,
And then maybe 10 to 15 new people booked in per month.
mm, mm,
So, yeah, within those 2.5 years, just consistency of
mm.
trying to do the same thing but better. It's just slowly, hopefully paying off.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant, fantastic. And those are very impressive numbers. Is that with any paid marketing or anything like that?
Yeah, so definitely it depends how you class as paid marketing, because what I've done is I've got to a point where I said, right, I can't physically do good clinical dentistry and good social media.
Mm,
Um, it's just not possible. It's just
mm,
too tiring. It's
mm,
exhausting. So I've got a lady doing my social media,
mhm,
who I pay monthly, and she
mm,
does all the posting. And
mm,
I now have a treatment coordinator at the practice who does all the messaging.
Hmm.
Um, and then I've got other people like yourself who've helped me develop my next steps of the process. And
Yeah.
probably as I grow more and I actually get more efficient, I am going to be looking at more advertising and things like that, different avenues, because I think it's all about hitting a number of different avenues, isn't it, really,
Yeah,
of
yeah,
how you
brilliant.
get those patients in.
Yeah, yeah, no, that yeah sounds really good. And so if I take you back a bit, tell me a bit about some of what were the, because obviously you mentioned these few patients that you really worked hard on getting the the befores, afters, and stuff like that. What are also some other initial steps that you took to kind of really start to propel how many inquiries you were getting and how many treatments you're actually doing?
Yeah, of course. So Um, I suppose Instagram initially started as the
Hmm.
main area, and we actually did a competition
Hmm.
at the time. And I know that's quite a big thing. A lot of people do competitions now.
Hmm.
So that definitely is something where you can get more people engaging, more followers looking at your work.
Hmm.
And I think that is quite key, trying to get more people seeing your work.
Hmm.
And we did it as a more of a natural growth at the
Yeah.
time, and that definitely since then allowed us to get more and more patients.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. Really, it was a competition.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only thing I would say is that was beneficial is I had a nice number of smiles on that page for people to
Yeah.
say, right, well, I can actually see this guy can do some nice work.
Mm,
So I'm going to give him a follow for now, even if I'm not that interested right now.
mm,
And I've found subsequently years down the line that people will have messaged me 2 years ago from that competition and are now still following me, but now
mm,
still interested in the treatment. So yeah, that's the way we've gone down so far, just mainly natural growth.
mm.
Um, I've tried a couple of ads and things like that, but because I don't exactly know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
I feel like they've been, when you just add in some money to an ad, and you don't
Yeah.
really know what you're getting from that. So that's why, fortunately for me, I've been able to do it fairly organically,
Yeah.
um, and just a slow following so far. But yeah, like I say, next steps are trying to get more patients through different avenues, I think.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, when people look at your following, most people wouldn't say that slow following because there's a lot of people
Yeah,
that are nowhere near. There's a lot of dentists that are nowhere near where you are in terms of your following, and the fact that most of it's actually been organic as well. That's that's huge. And also one thing that I've noticed about you when I look at your page, and obviously at the end I will put somewhere where people can actually have a look at your page and what you're doing. Your
yeah, yeah.
your content is just impeccable. It's like super high quality. How did you do that? How did you make sure to get really good quality images and videos and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So initially, it started off by just having a routine. So
Mm,
for every patient, no matter what, whether you think it's going to be good or bad, you take the same set of photos, the same videos. You make sure every patient gets a full face photo, every patient gets a full face video. Um, obviously you've got to get consent for these things,
mhm,
but at the same time, it's super important to get every time. And
mhm,
it's very, very hard when you're just a single dentist and
mm,
you're trying to concentrate on the dentistry and concentrate on getting all the the content. But that's why I used to do a little tick list for myself and just
mm,
said, right, there's my tick list. Have I done this, and
mhm,
this? Right, I've got all that. I can now focus on the dentistry.
mhm.
Um, and I used to book out extra time for all of it.
Yeah,
You think it's costing you money doing this extra bit of social media, but actually it's going to bring you
yeah,
two, three, four more patients. And I think that's one of the key things when you're first starting out is making sure you're really
mhm,
killing every case so that,
mm,
if one doesn't come along for another month, you've got enough content
mhm, mhm.
to get you through until that next patient does come through the door.
Yeah, brilliant. And I just want to take you back a little bit, because you mentioned, which I think is a very important point. You talked about how you just scrapped to get the first few patients so that you had some work to show. on social media and that sort of things. How did you kind of get those? Because a lot of people are thinking, well, I need to advertise to get those first few, but how did you get those without much advertising and that sort of thing?
Yeah, so that was internally in the practice.
Mm,
I suppose what I would do is any NHS patient that only had a 10-minute window, I would
mm,
book out another 30-minute review for those
mm,
people that might have been interested. And I
mm,
suppose it's a bit like a lost leader, isn't it?
mm,
You hopefully build enough enthusiasm and show a couple of photos of how you can help in that 10-minute checkup, and then you really build in the value
mm,
within that 30-minute review, which is completely free. So
mm,
I
mm.
suppose that's probably where I started. And then as I progressed from there, it did become like a £30 deposit, which is refundable.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, so progress through the ranks of doing that. And that obviously helps to make sure that you don't get complete time wasters,
Yeah, yeah,
because I think that's important.
yeah,
So yeah, that's how it all started, and
yeah,
that's you've got to show them what you can do. And I think I was considerably cheaper than a lot of people at that point.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Mm,
so I knew I could provide a high standard of work, but for a very cost effective price. And since then, I've each year I've put my prices up because you can do, can't you?
yeah, 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 absolutely. And how did you build that confidence during those initial consultations and reviews? And how did you manage to communicate the value? Is that something that you just learned? Did you go to a course for it or?
Yeah, I think definitely. Obviously, you've got to have the clinical knowledge
Mm,
to a certain degree as well. So I have been on numerous courses for composites and
mm,
occlusion courses. So I've even done full mouth courses. So
mm,
you do have that bit of background knowledge already, and then
mm,
you do just have to have the confidence that
mm,
sometimes you've just got to ask,
mm.
and you've just got to say, look, this is what I can do, and not be bothered if someone says, look,
Yeah,
that really wasn't what I was asking for today. I was
yeah,
just going to get my teeth checked.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, but that's fine. You just got. I think that's one of the main things: getting back up, and also having a bit of a structured process.
yeah.
So I used to listen to quite a few podcasts, um, and I'm pretty sure I don't do this anymore because I tend to do what I want now. But I
Yeah.
remember when I did it, it was like 5 steps, and the
Mm,
5 steps were rapport building,
mm,
um, finding out why the patient was unhappy,
mm,
showing them the mirror and getting them to point out what they
mm,
didn't like, take some
mm.
photos to reinforce it, get them up on an iPad or get them up on the screen
Yeah.
and start saying what's wrong, build the value of how we can fix this, and this, and this
Mm,
is how you're going to feel at the end of it. So you get a
mhm.
bit of emotional involvement in there.
Yeah.
And once you get that emotional involvement, obviously you got to close it and say, well, this is how much it is.
Mm.
Would you like to go ahead? And
Yeah.
someone actually always taught me that when you say that, the person that speaks first loses.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so you just got to hold your tongue until
Yeah.
they say yay or nay, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant, brilliant, and yeah, it sounds amazing. And going back to social media, you mentioned consent a few times, and you mentioned that you actually take pictures of all your patients before they start treatment and that sort of thing. And how have you found that? Do you find that most patients agree to have their pictures and their videos taken and that sort of thing? And even after, do you find that a lot of them agree to it? And how do you ask them?
Yeah, I suppose one thing I always do is that I say we've got to take all these records anyway. So
Hmm.
even if you never want them to be on social media, we have to take them as
Hmm.
part of the process,
Hmm.
because once people get to the end of treatment, and then
Hmm.
you could even ask them again, like, oh,
Hmm.
this smile, you've been really happy with it.
Hmm.
You're happy for us to post some of these things on social media. I can send them across to you. Then they're a bit more engaged and happier and thinking, oh, I don't care about what my smile used to look like
Yeah.
because it's looking great now.
Mm,
So yeah, get the consent form out again and get it re-signed.
mm, mm,
So that's how I tend to do it. I tend not to put too much emphasis on worrying about what's
mm.
happening at the start. I just concentrate about getting them that amazing. Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right.
Um, Getting them that amazing result, and then obviously getting consent at the end of that again.
Yeah, brilliant. And obviously you might be repeating yourself slightly here, but when it comes to pictures, and did you use a special camera? Did you just use your phone? What did you use? What kind of equipment did you have?
Yeah. So I think this is where your clinical work can be as the best in the world, but if you don't have the kit to make sure it looks good, then patients aren't going to see that. And I think
Mm,
that's why you've got to have correct setup, never just normal phone. Obviously, you can just do normal SLR camera with a standard flash, or you can get something called a twin flash, which a lot of people will know about. So it's about showing off your work and presenting it to the best
mm,
way. And I know what we do for a lot of our videos is we use a ring light.
mm,
So that's a nice little tip. If we're ever doing a video of teeth or we're doing a full face video, you want that person to look as amazing as possible. So
mm.
a ring light, you know what the girls are like
Yeah,
when they're on their ring lights,
yeah,
makes them
yeah.
look even better. So that's what the ring light's for.
Yeah, and do you prepare them? Because all your patients look like models. Do you like tell them to make sure that, do you know what I mean? They put all the paint their faces and all sorts, so you prepare them for it to a certain degree.
Yeah, I think what we the way I do it is because you can imagine 4 hours of bonding. They don't look like models after that. So we get it before we say, look, it'd be great if we can take these photos. Um, and they could potentially be on social media, so they have a little bit before they come in. They come in looking nice. You take all the photos, the videos before, and then get them to come back on the review appointment. And I think review appointments are really, really valuable because, again, you're wasting 20, 30 minutes chatting to them about how they should look and how to maintain them. But the long term is they're going to maintain their teeth better, and you're going to get better content as well.
Yeah, yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Really. So after you've done obviously all of these bits, sorry, I'm trying to get everything out of you right now. Uh,
Go for it. Go for it.
but you've done all of these bits and social media now. Do you, so obviously you're posting the content. What kind of strategy did you use? Was it just like I'm gonna post every single day, every single hour, or was it like I'm gonna post so many times a week? And how did you make sure you were consistent? Because I know obviously you did get someone in to come in, but I'm sure you still had some input in terms of the strategy that was used.
Yeah, so I generally wrote down I'm into presentations
Mm-hmm.
and strategies, and I physically wrote an Instagram strategy. I
Mm-hmm.
wrote down what my target audience looked like.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote down my UP uh,
USP.
USPs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I've not used that word for a while. USPs, and I wrote down like what treatments I was wanting to do.
Mm,
And that's where it all started. If you don't have those directions,
mm,
then you're not going to be able to present it on Instagram in a
mm,
way that people are physically going to want to buy into you.
mm,
Um, so I suppose one of my USPs was that I don't mind being on camera,
mm,
and I like to get involved with communicating through Instagram.
yeah,
And that's one of the main, I would say, one of my main USPs is that people can see me online before they actually come in
yeah,
and get to know me a little bit. So that
yeah,
was one of the USPs, and that was hard. Like
yeah,
that wasn't what I wanted to do initially,
yeah,
but the more you do it, the more it becomes easier, and you see the benefits from it massively.
yeah,
Uh,
brilliant. And so was that like you doing a lot of stories or just doing posts of you or?
Yeah, so it started off by getting somebody to come into the practice, taking photos on an SLR, professional photos in your full scrubs, professional photos with patients,
Yeah.
trying to get some video content.
Mm,
You've mentioned before, video content's key, and I think
yeah,
you're right. I think it's one of those things that just can set you apart from other people.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, and then for me, it was always Invisalign and bonding. That's all I wanted to do. So if you look at my page, all I post is Invisalign and bonding. But if you're wanting to focus on general dentistry as a portfolio for future practice or implants, you've kind of got to focus on what you want to focus on and keep bringing it back to your ethos,
mhm.
your USPs, and communicate that to people.
Yeah. And if you had to look at the journey that you've been on, and if you had to pick one thing that you would say has made the biggest difference, what would it be?
Oh, I suppose it depends in what area of um, the whole plan, because I think unfortunately, unless you work on each certain area,
Mm,
then you're never going to be able to bring it all together.
mhm,
Like I said before, if you're really good at clinical dentistry, but you're awful at communicating and awful at getting social media stuff, you're only going to be able to ever work within your practice and work within those patients, which is still a big range. But if I was to tell you
mm,
that every one of my patients is from social media, and
mm.
some of them, maybe 50% of them, travel over an hour
Yeah.
to 2 hours to see me, then
Right.
obviously you start to think, well, I could get a lot more patients if I'm really amazing at dentistry. Then
Mm.
as long as I get it to other people to see, then people will travel, and that's what it's all about these days. I think people will travel for decent dentistry.
Yeah, brilliant.
So yeah, I think it's a number of different things. I think it's good work. I think it's, if you don't like social media, then pay somebody to do it, because it's the best money you'll ever spend.
Mm.
And then it's also about getting good content, like you said. I think those are sort of the main things.
Yeah, brilliant. And also, Johnny, I'm just gonna start running it out because I know we're running out of time at the moment. I mean, and again, if you had to go back to Johnny starting out, so if you think about, let's say, someone you've just qualified and you're getting into dentistry, what kind of advice would you be giving them about just basically just finding success within the dental career?
Yeah, I think one of the lessons that I learned, which I learned the hard way, is that you've always got to make sure that you just do the dentistry you want to do and the
Mm,
way you want to do it. I
mm,
think that will always make you be happy. There's lots of constraints within dentistry that try to force you down a specific path. And I think you've really got to stay true and strong to the direction that you want to sort of work within. Um, and you've just got to keep fighting until, sometimes you have to, it takes years to get where you want to be, but if you do keep going, you will just get there. So I
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
probably what I would say to everyone. Don't just stick to what you're doing just because you think there's no way out. There's always
Yeah, brilliant.
a way to get to the place you want.
Yeah, no, that's really great. And what would you say is one of your biggest successes thus far as a dentist?
I think one of the biggest successes is that, like I say, I've grown this set of patients where I had no idea it was going to happen, where I just thought, right, we'll give it a go and let's keep pushing and let's keep trying to get more people. And now I'm seeing all these people on Instagram with their new smiles, and that's probably one of my biggest achievements.
Mm,
It's not doing the smile anymore. It's actually physically seeing people out enjoying
mm,
their smiles, and they're always posting on social media now, or always posting nice smiley photos.
mm.
Whereas before they were always, giving it the classic
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of those, which is so sad to see when smiling does make you happy.
Mm,
Like, it's a part of
mm.
a process of life, isn't it? So yeah, I think that's my biggest achievement so far.
Yeah, brilliant. And what would you say is just generally what's next for you? What is there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's next for me is, as I've been working with you, we've been working on systems, we've been working on flows.
Mm,
I have an online assessment process which you've helped me with massively, and I think the next step is making sure that all the systems are in place to actually do and see more patients. I think
yeah.
that's the plan. At the minute, I'm limited. I feel a bit stuck on how many patients I can see, and that's just because we need to improve things. And then
Mm.
as soon as we improve things, we'll be able to see more patients.
Yeah. No, fantastic, amazing. No, thank you very much, Johnny. And if anyone wanted to be able to find you or anything like that, how can they find you?
Yeah, normally people can message me on Stevens Dental account, so I can normally answer on there. So it's at Stevens Dental on Instagram, or email is smile@stevensdental.co.uk. So more than happy to answer any questions if there is any.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for doing this, Stephen.
No problem.
Why did I call you Stephen? Your name's Jonny. This is what's happening. I've not even done any of the work, but my brain's gone. No, thank you so much. Thank you.
No,